World War II became one of the most mechanized conflicts the world had ever seen, and Germany entered the war with a clear belief in speed, movement, and raw firepower. German military leaders were convinced that vehicles would decide the future of warfare. This belief shaped a new combat doctrine known as Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, where fast-moving forces smashed through enemy lines before they could react. From motorcycles and supply trucks to tanks and massive armored machines, German vehicles played a decisive role in both the early successes and the later failures of the war. At the very start of the conflict, motorcycles were everywhere in the German army. They were essential for communication, reconnaissance, and rapid troop movement. Two of the most famous models were the BMW R75 and the Zundap KS 750. These powerful motorcycles often came with sidecars that could mount machine guns, turning them into fast, mobile fighting platforms. On smooth roads, especially during the invasions of Poland and France, they proved extremely effective. But as the war moved into harsher environments with mud, snow, and rough terrain, motorcycles began to lose their usefulness. Behind every fighting unit stood an army of transport vehicles. Trucks were the true backbone of the German war effort, and none was more important than the Opel Blitz. This truck carried everything the army needed: soldiers, ammunition, fuel, food, and spare parts. It was simple, reliable, and produced in large numbers. Despite Germany's reputation for advanced mechanization, much of its army still depended on basic transport vehicles, and in many areas, especially on the Eastern Front, even horse-drawn wagons remained common. To bridge the gap between trucks and tanks, Germany made heavy use of half-tracks. These vehicles used wheels at the front and tracks at the rear, allowing them to travel both on roads and across rough ground. The SD KFZ 251 became one of the most recognizable German vehicles of the war. It allowed infantry soldiers to move safely alongside tanks while staying protected from small arms fire. These vehicles became a symbol of German mobility and were seen in almost every major campaign, from early victories to desperate late-war defenses. Armored cars were another vital part of the German vehicle fleet. Fast and lightly armored, vehicles like the SD KFZ 222 and SD KFZ 234 were mainly used for reconnaissance. Their mission was to scout ahead, patrol roads, and gather information about enemy positions, not to fight head-on battles. Some later designs, such as the Puma, were more heavily armed and could even challenge enemy tanks under the right conditions, making them some of the most dangerous reconnaissance vehicles of the war. Of course, when people think of German vehicles in World War II, tanks immediately come to mind. Early in the war, Germany relied on light tanks like the Panzer I and Panzer II. These tanks were lightly armored and weakly armed, but they played an important role in training crews and supporting infantry. During the invasions of Poland and France, these early panzers succeeded not because they were superior machines, but because they were used with superior tactics and coordination. As the war continued, Germany introduced more capable medium tanks, most notably the Panzer III and Panzer IV. The Panzer III was designed specifically to fight enemy tanks, while the Panzer IV focused on infantry support with high explosive shells. Over time, the Panzer IV proved more adaptable. It received stronger armor and more powerful guns, and eventually became the backbone of German armored forces, serving on every front until the very end of the war. Everything changed in 1941 when German forces encountered the Soviet T-34. Its sloped armor and powerful gun shocked German commanders and exposed weaknesses in existing panzer designs. In response, Germany developed the Panther tank. Often considered one of the best medium tanks of the war, the Panther combined strong sloped armor with an excellent high-velocity gun. On the battlefield, it was deadly. However, its complexity made it expensive to build and difficult to maintain, and early models suffered from serious mechanical problems. Germany also invested heavily in heavy tanks, most famously the Tiger I and Tiger II. The Tiger I earned a terrifying reputation among Allied soldiers. Its thick armor and devastating 88mm gun allowed it to destroy enemy tanks from extreme distances. The Tiger II, also known as the King Tiger, pushed this concept even further with heavier armor and even greater firepower. But these monsters came with serious drawbacks. They were slow, fuel-hungry, extremely expensive, and produced in small numbers far too few to change the course of the war. Alongside tanks, Germany produced large numbers of self-propelled guns and tank destroyers. Vehicles like the Stug III replaced the traditional tank turret with a fixed gun mounted on a lower-profile chassis. This made them cheaper and faster to produce while still being highly effective, especially in defensive battles. The Stug III became one of the most successful German armored vehicles, destroying thousands of enemy tanks throughout the war. Specialized tank destroyers followed, including the Jag Panzer IV, Jag Panther, and the massive Jag Tiger. The Jag Panther stood out as one of the best tank destroyers ever built, combining strong armor with a powerful gun and good mobility. The Jag Tiger, on the other hand, was simply too heavy. Many broke down before even reaching combat, becoming symbols of over-engineering in a war Germany could no longer afford. Artillery also became more mobile as the war progressed. Germany mounted artillery guns on tracked vehicles such as the Wesby and Hummel. These self-propelled artillery units allowed German forces to deliver heavy fire support while keeping pace with armored advances and quickly relocating before enemy counterfire could strike. Beyond combat vehicles, Germany relied on a wide range of engineering and support machines. Armored recovery vehicles repaired and towed damaged tanks under fire. Bridge-laying vehicles helped troops cross rivers and obstacles. Flamethrower vehicles were used in brutal urban combat and against fortified positions, though they were extremely dangerous to operate and often became priority targets for enemy soldiers. Some of the most extreme German vehicle designs never made it to the battlefield. The Moss tank, weighing nearly 200 tons, remains the heaviest tank ever built. While its armor was nearly impenetrable, it was painfully slow and completely impractical. Only two prototypes were completed, and neither saw real combat. These projects revealed Germany's obsession with technological superiority, even as resources and time ran out. As the war dragged on, Germany faced constant shortages of fuel, spare parts, and trained crews. Allied bombing campaigns crippled factories, and many vehicles were rushed into service without proper testing. Although German vehicles were often powerful and advanced, their complexity made them difficult to repair in real battlefield conditions. Meanwhile, Allied vehicles focused on reliability, simplicity, and mass production. By the final years of the war, even Germany's most feared machines could no longer compensate for overwhelming Allied numbers, air dominance, and industrial strength. Many German tanks were abandoned, not because they were destroyed, but because they ran out of fuel or could not be repaired. The story of German vehicles in World War II, one of incredible innovation and engineering brilliance, but also of strategic miscalculations and unsustainable designs. Today, these vehicles continue to capture the imagination of historians, military enthusiasts, and model builders around the world. They stand as powerful symbols of both the strengths and the limits of technology in warfare, reminding us that even the most advanced machines cannot win a war on their own.